Awesome. Welcome everyone to this session on UI UX. With us today is Doc of Designs, a very good friend of ours and quite experienced in designs, and he'll be taking us through UI UX and also assist each one of us through one-on-ones. Telegram to have him. So for today, this will be the headliner for UI UX. So we are running this crawl for Kenya. We have a number of teams here, 9 of them, and yeah, I think my my internet disconnected, but yeah. So Doc of Designs, welcome very much. Welcome very much. I think you're mute.
Okay.
Muted.
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think I'll let you go ahead, introduce yourself. I think you'd read the blabs for each of the teams, but also the team members will introduce themselves just briefly so we can get to the content of the session. So welcome very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Matthew. All right. Good day, everyone. My name is John, but popularly known as Doc of Designs. I'm a professional UI UX designer. We have about 3 years of experience. I've worked across different fields, different niche, ranging from fintech to medcare to Web3 products. Basically, more or less passionate about helping founders learn more about UI UX, majorly the UX part, because one thing founders majorly abstract when they are building a product, majorly due to time constraints and a lot of things, is the process of the UI UX. And more or less, there is a lot of ripple factors that it eventually costs the founders and costs the product on the long run. So I'm just here to provide education on that. So I'll stop yapping there. I'll let you guys introduce yourself. So we should go first.
Yeah, I think Dennis, are you in a position to speak? And for the guys who are able to put on your videos, please do so. We can start with Dennis. If Dennis is not in a position to speak, I think we can go to Gideon.
Yes, yeah, this is Gideon. Yes, I'm Gideon from BlockUp. We are solving for governance within the cooperative sector. That's what we are doing. So we are developing models, a launch pad for shared trading for circles, a guarantor pool model, a DAO, and a DeFi protocol for circles to use. Thank you. It was an introduction, Matt, right?
Yes, yes. Gikenya?
Yeah, Paul, I'm on the road.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Gikenya, founder of Miniland. So basically, Miniland is a USDC savings wallet for people from emerging markets to try and help individuals save in stables and access yields, and also short loans directly from using their native currencies like Kenya shillings and other native currencies. Yeah.
Awesome. We can go to Tim.
Hi guys, my name is Tim. I'm the founder of Bondly. a platform that helps couples, friends, and co-founders create smart commitments, both emotional and financial. Since I noticed that most relationships suffer due to lack of accountability and compatibility. So that's one of the main drive towards Bondly, to help people like improve their relationship.
Awesome. Victor?
Hey guys, how's it going? Victor Mwagachi from Tanzania. Building Middle Bay. We're helping cross-border payments. I have some experience in building software in UI UX, so excited to learn from you and very much so for the session. And yeah.
Awesome. We can go to Cecilia.
Hi. My name is Cecilia Molandi. I am the dev for the Kenya School Node. Excited to hear from you, Doc. Thank you.
Awesome. Pablo.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Pablo from Carbon Seek, and we are trying to reward individuals and companies for going paperless. We reward them by issuing them credit notes for each and every paper that they save. And that's our starting point, and we hope to expand to other types of emission savings. Nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So, Doc, you can take over. We usually like to keep it under an hour, or if it goes past an hour, maybe 15 minutes, but feel free to do your thing.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Nice to meet you all again. So I'll be sharing my screen shortly. I prepared quite a comprehensive material, so we can go over it later on. No, just for. So let me know when my screen is visible, please.
Yes, it's now visible.
All right, great. So basically, this session is about best practices in UI UX for startups, and we'll just be titling the session "Designing Human-Centered Experiences for Web3 Startups." So I dropped a little note here. Let me collapse this so I can see it here. So I dropped a little note here. Web3 startups often focus heavily on technology, basically, smart contract, decentralization, tokens, and the rest. And they struggle with user adoption due to poor design and onboarding. So what we are aiming for in this session is to help the founders that are here to understand what UI UX is and how they can leverage UI UX. So let me just give a brief rundown of a story before we go through to the main order of the day. So some time ago, I was speaking with a particular team. They had created a product in the Web3 ecosystem, and they've launched their V1, and they were basically doing the marketing and the likes, but they were not getting the feedbacks that they want. They were not getting the users. The users were coming in, but they were not staying, like just a couple of things, right? And they were wondering, okay, what are we doing wrong? What did we not do, right? And we have done a call, just to a more or less like a product discovery call, just to look through the product, see what's going on. And there's this thing we call UI UX auditing. It's more like you are going through the step-by-step flow of your product, from the landing page to the actual product, to see everything, the user journey and the rest. And we noticed a couple of frictions. And we created like a document just to state everything out word for word, and just so that the team can understand what exactly is the problem and why users are not staying. They are literally bouncing off. Then when we had a call after that again with the team, that was when they eventually opened up and they were like, okay, yeah, because of the short time frame, we were not able to really, go through the normal UI/UX process. We could not adhere to some best practices, and this cost the product. Now they have to go back to work on these things before they come back out again, right? But if these things had been done from scratch, this would not have happened. They won't be losing time now. They won't be losing funds because, I mean, going back to all those things, it's a couple of funds. So that is how important UI/UX is in delivering products, because products, as we know it, it's not for us. Yes, we can say we are founders, we are the one betting the vision, right? But it's still users that we use it. It's still people that we use it. So if this is not taking note of, if this is not integrated from the very first start, I'm sorry to say, but the product will not fly. It will not go anywhere. So let's just move right ahead, right? So, okay, I've basically introduced myself, and I just basically give a story of how critical design is in the Web3 industry. So I was doing a couple of research, and I noted down some stats. 86% of users abandon a product because the onboarding feels too complicated. Yes, I'm pretty sure everyone here has used one product or the other. I mean, we use products daily. We browse, we have wallets on our phones, a lot of things. And why we use what we use is because we see something in it that we like. We see things that keep us in these products, right? So when a user downloads your product, or even if it's a web app, maybe they don't download it, they open the link, right, and they click on it. The first step that will majorly make them to know what your product is about, that will lead them into the direct, how do I call it, features of your product. That's what we call the onboarding stage. And if your onboarding stage is not as frictionless as possible, users will bounce, because the attention span of a human currently is reducing day by day. This generation is even worse. I mean, once they up into your app, they don't see what keeps them, they bounce off. And people are shipping product every day. People are shipping product. So they are competitors. So if a founder does not pay attention to these things, the vision that the founder has will eventually not be better than the way he or she thinks of it. So back to what we have here. On average, Web3 products lose over 70% of users before they ever complete their first transaction. I just stated the reason why, right? It takes less than 3 clicks to lose a Web2 user. In Web3, it often takes just one confusing wallet prompt. To explain that, as much as we know, Web3 is more or less just getting adopted. It's not like Web2 that everybody are familiar with. I mean, if they tell you today to download a fintech app, you know what to expect. You know the steps to go through because it's common. Maybe an e-learning app, it's common, right? But Web3 is a niche that not much people are familiar with. We are just trying to onboard people into the Web3 ecosystem, into the Web3 space, so people can get to know more about it, see the I'm thinking of that word now, but see the benefits, yes, see the benefits of being in the Web3 ecosystem. Now, when a user is moving from Web2 to Web3, of course, it's like, let's say today, let's assume you don't know how to drive a car, right? And you want to learn how to drive a car, and you maybe just buy a car. You did not even go to a driving school, you just bought a car. And you expect to drive the car from where you bought it home. It's clearly impossible. Okay, let's assume you now have an experienced driver with you, but you are still the one in the steering, and he or she is trying to tell you, okay, you press the pedal, you press the accelerator, you turn your steering like this. No matter how good the person is, you won't still be able to drive that car home. You won't still be able to drive that car home. The only way is before you purchase your car, you've learned the process of driving, you've known how to drive. is the same way Web3 onboarding should be. Basically, there should be a step-by-step process. There should be, you can't just jump into it, right? There should be a step-by-step process that leads that is not familiar to users, and there is no system to explain it to them, to break it down to them, for them to understand it. They will not be able to move to the next phase. And if they cannot move to the next phase, they will definitely bounce off the app. So this is part of what caused a lot of bounce rate from a Web3 product, right? So that's that for that. Let's move on to a little question I have here. What do we think of when we hear UI UX? So can anyone, just share what they think about UI UX briefly?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tim.
Yeah, so according to me, I understand UI means the user interface,
Okay.
the design, maybe the colors, the theme, and everything in terms of design. Now, for the UX, that means like the user experience. So for instance, me and you can be selling tomatoes in the same market, but the type of experience that, let's say customers usually come to me because of the type of experience that I give them. Maybe how was it, like for instance in sales, instead of just like, oh, how much is a tomato? And like, I tell you it's just 10 shillings or whatever. I'll be like, how is your day? How's the family? Like the experience, like how you feel, like how you make the customer feel. So I also came to understand that, okay, this is my opinion. I'm not sure if it's correct, but I also came to understand that part of the user experience in terms of in apps usually has a lot to do with like when the platform has a form, when you're filling the form, how detailed and how guided the form is actually also helps the user, like in terms of experience, especially with someone who does not understand much about the platform. Also, you mentioned about onboarding, so I just like recently added like an onboarding tour on my platform, since it's like a new type of platform that most people don't know about, and I didn't want it to be like confusing. So I added like a small, how like the onboarding tour, like, oh, this button does this, this does this, this does this. And then when you finish the onboarding tour, it gives you a call to action, like create your first bond and invite wherever, like something like that. I don't know if I'm correct, but that's kind of my understanding.
Yeah, you make a very brilliant point, and yes, you are correct. I like how you related it to something we can all understand. That's very brilliant. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Does anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Okay, I suppose not. All right. Thank you for that, Tim, once again. So yes, you are very right. You are very right. Okay, let me just drag this up so that we can see my screen. Yes. So user experience, this is what I wrote here. Well, basically just like Tim said, UI is what attracts you to a product. It's what you see as you download an app, even before you download it. I mean, as you see it, whatever you are seeing is the interface, right? Is the interface. So whatever attracts you to a product, that's what we call UI in short, not to overcomplicate things. UX, just like Tim also said, is the user experience, the user journey, the progress from one place to another while in the app. Let's say they click a particular button, what happens, why they are clicking the button. Basically those things, that is the UX. And when we are talking of UX, we can say something like micro interactions. They are just different. They are just different. So let's look at what I have written here. So for UI, this is the look and feel of the product, the visual layers that user directly interact with. We can say colors, the typography, that's the font and the rest, the buttons, they are same, the icons, the layout, how everything is structured on the application. That's basically what UI is about. Then for user experience, this is the overall journey and the interaction quality a user has with the product. Everyone can boldly say, okay, if I'm to say, okay, download a particular application or maybe an application you're even very familiar with. For instance, let's say Duolingo. I'm just trying to think of one off and right now, and they say, okay, maybe the person name is, I'm just thinking of a name, probably Matthew. Yes, let's say Matthew. Hi, Matthew. So you are using Duolingo, okay? What's your experience like? And the person start narrating it's this and this and this and this. So that's basically the person's experience while using the app. That can also be referred to as experience. It's because of taking note of this while you are creating your app, that the user can have such feedback, right? So everything just works hand in hand. So together, when we merge UI and UX, that's basically what makes up your product. That's the whole overall chain foundation of your product. So the UI is what will attract people to your application, and UX is what will keep users in your application. If you do one for the other, you won't get a result. If you prioritize UI and you don't prioritize UX, in fact, people generally say you should prioritize UX first, because yes, the UI might not be so fine, but if a user can experience a frictionless flow in your application, honestly, they will stay. They will stay, because provided while I'm interfacing with a particular application, I cannot have any cause to think before I take an action. Basically, I'm saying everything I want to do. I won't want to leave the application. Why? Because it's solving my pain points. It's solving my needs. What do I want? I don't want to be stressed. I want to just come to the app, do what I want, and bounce off. If I come to the app and I can't do what I want, you are stressing my life. I will not use the application. So that's just basically how it works, right? So I have a note here. UI UX is the design of both the visual interface and the user journey that determines how people perceive, interact, and trust a product. Let's go to key components of UX. So here we'll just be looking at the key pillars that makes up UX. When we talk of UX, we talk of usability. That's using the product, basically usability. We talk of accessibility. We talk of clarity and learnability. We talk of trust and transparency. We talk of efficiency, feedback and error handling. We talk of delight and engagement. So I also created notes to break them down. So let's just look at them shortly. Let's look at usability. When we are talking usability, the first question you should ask yourself, can users easily achieve their goal? I mentioned this, prior to when we got to this section. I want to come to the app. I just want to do what I want to do. For instance, I want to send stablecoin to my friend, and I'm coming to the app. I can't even move from one thing to the other. I'm just in different pop-ups, or maybe the flow is not clear. Let's even assume I'm a first-time user. I don't know how to do it, and I downloaded your application. And as I open it, I'm expecting you to educate me on what I want to do. And all I'm seeing is foreign jargons, Web3 is full of jargons, and it's not something familiar with users. So they are just saying swap, I don't know, ENS, and they don't even know the meaning of the ENS. You'll be like, what's this, God? And they'll just close it and they'll leave the application. But when these things are considered right, all in all, it will make your product seamless. So the first question, can users easily achieve their goals? When we talk of users achieving their goals, we talk of clear navigation, moving from screen A to screen B. We talk of intuitive flows, same thing. We talk of minimal friction, same thing we mentioned. For instance, okay, yeah, there's an example. There's simple wallet connection without multiple confusing pop-ups. I should not want to click something and I'm seeing another pop-up. I mean, why they pop up when you can literally just put it there if there is a space and it will not make that place look visually cluttered. A lot of people don't know these principles that are guiding design. They just, put things where they feel it should, whereas there's underlying principles that should guide how we create our applications. So let's look at accessibility. Can everyone use the product regardless of technical background, device, or ability? Some people, when they are, okay, I get the fact that when you're creating your product, there may not be the time to consider all other languages and, a couple of minor things. But on the long run, when, the product is established and all, and these things are not considered, it's good practice to just go back and consider accessibility. Because if you're thinking and looking at your product going beyond where you are, going global, there is a lot to consider. We are talking of language barrier, we are talking of even people that are colorblind. And that's why Web3 in a way is solving that by sticking to dark modes. If we look at the trend, I mean, dark mode is quite common in Web3. And it's also a particular niche in accessibility because research showed that a lot of people could not spend time on their app because of the light mode, the rays entering their eyes. Also, dark mode signifies secrecy. I want to be secret while doing things like this. That's like, there are just a lot of things that linked to that. But yes, let's leave that for that. So accessibility, can everyone use your product regardless of the device? Is your product responsive? A lot of people, while developing, they forget mobile. Whereas mobile should even be considered first. We have this rule of thumb, mobile first. You can't tell me mobile is one thing that goes with you almost everywhere you go. Yes, you can carry your laptop, you can carry your iPad. I mean, yes, but your mobile phone is one thing that is always with you. So if you are not designing for mobile, if it's not responsive, I wonder what you're trying to do with your product, right? So you consider these things, you include designs for global audience, just like we spoke, mobile first users, just like we just mentioned. Let's move to clarity and learnability. Is your product easy to understand how things work? If I download your product, if I download the application, can I go through it as a first-time user? If you give someone your product, let's assume, I mean, we all have a target range in our mind for our audience. Let's say maybe some people can be 16 to 35, depends. If you give a total novice your product, if the novice cannot perform the action, at least one core action in your product, then you need to go and retreat on it again. That's where clarity and learnability comes in. There are things like pop-up, there are things like, we'll get there where I'll show a demo about a particular application on how they integrated all these things. So let's be fast because of time. So clarity and learnability, is your product easy to understand? Avoid jargons as much as possible. Web3 people like putting technical jargons because of the complexity. As much as possible, simplify these things. I was still speaking to someone some time ago, and we are just discussing on chain abstraction, basically how to simplify these complex things, so to say, what Web2 users see as complex. The fear in Web3 is complex. And if we are looking at onboarding Web2 users, simplify it. As much as possible, don't put technical jargons there. Yes, you can guide users with tooltips. Tooltips is just, if you hover your mouse on something like a pop-up, just a tiny thing. I'll show it also as time goes on. Then you can have a walkthrough flow. That's what onboarding is for, and a couple of places. I'll also demo a product. There's an example here. You explain what gas fee is in plain language with examples before confirmation. Now, truth and transparency. When users are going through your product, do they feel safe? Do they feel, yes, I'm in control, or do they feel you that created the product, you are in control? The goal is not to be, I mean, we say Web3 is decentralized, you are in control of everything. So make sure you pass that message across while building your product. If your product is still feeling like there is something the user may not understand while using it, break that down, because the goal is to make them understand. The goal is to be as transparent as possible, as transparent as possible. So you do that. Let's go to efficiency. Are processes smooth and time saving? That does not mean as you are trying to be transparent as possible, you jam pack everything on the screen. You jam pack everything on the screen. No. If you jam pack everything on the screen, consider the time also a user will take from point A to point B. So there are practices also that guide these things, like maybe just putting a question mark somewhere that if they click on it, they can see more information, or maybe a chevron, just a drop down, maybe in a UI, just something that shows how we also demo that. I'll just show a couple of examples. So just something that can make the process seamless, totally efficient for your users. We go to feedback and error handling. Does the system respond clearly when something happens? Let's assume you are using an application. Let's use fintech for an instance. You are trying to transfer money, or even a Web3 application, you're trying to transfer your token and you initiate the transaction. You don't even see a screen showing loading. You don't see a screen showing. There's literally nothing showing you that anything is being done on the back end. And your screen is just staring at you. How would you feel? You will be like, did anything just happen? You will be very confused. You won't even want to close it because you will be afraid your coin has gone, your crypto has gone. But you will just be stuck there. You will just be stuck there. So as much as possible, these things, as minute as it might be, is very easy to overlook, very easy to overlook. But this is one of the core things, one of the core micro interactions that can make or mar your product. So feedback and error handling is very, very essential. Now, on the light and engagement, what do users feel when using your product? Do they feel happy that, oh yeah, I like how I'm interacting with this product? If your user cannot feel that, then there is work to do. So that's for that. Let's move on to why UI UX matters. Why UI UX matters. So here we'll just be looking at differences between Web 2 and Web 3 and the rest. So for Web 2, users are very, very familiar with what is going on. I mean, Web 2 has been around. I'll pick this later. Web 2 has been around for a long time now, so users are quite familiar with it. Web 3, like I said earlier on, the first idea, oh, this is complex. How do I go about it? So UX is the bridge. I'm here. UX is the bridge that makes Web 3 usable for everyone. This is the connecting dots, yes, that's literally just make onboarding new users into your products feel seamless. We look at identity and access here also. For Web 2, email and password quite common. For Web 3, we have wallet, seed phrases, private keys. You lose it and it's gone forever. So in situations like this, let's assume your products will be making use of seed phrases and the rest. You have to inform users on the danger of losing seed phrases. You don't need to assume that, oh yeah, it's Web3. I mean, they should be quite familiar with this. They should know. No, don't assume for your users. Do not assume. You are not the user. People will use your product. As much as possible, simplify it. Let them know exactly what they are getting into. Let them know the consequences in case they lose it. So that's that for identity and access, ownership and data. You should just make it clear and make everything transparent. We said that earlier. For transaction and payments, you explain costs, you abstract complexity, you guide users step by step. And the learning curve should be seamless as much as possible. So the key takeaway is UX in Web3 is non-negotiable. You can't say, I'll come back to consider the UX process later. Nah, you have to, from the very first planning stage of whatever you want to do, UX has to be involved. You have to consider the users. You have to. If you don't, then there will be a problem later on. So UX is non-negotiable when it comes to creating products in the Web3 space. So here we'll just be looking at how poor UX slows Web3 adoption. So for instance, look at this here. Drop off at onboarding. Wallet setup for Web2 users, people that are just saying this for the first time. They see wallet and they're like, what's wallet? I mean, all they know, or all I care, is physical wallet, where they keep their money and their ATM card or whatever they use when they are going out. So when they see wallet in an application, I expect their head will think of the same thing. But it's still good practice for you to break it down, seed phrases. Let me give an example. I'm sharing my screen. So if we can see this, for instance, this is an exploration I was doing some time ago, just, for fun. And all these best practices, we can see them here. For instance, when you open the application, this is the onboarding space. You can see information. You are informing the users what this thing is about. Your case, your crypto. Take full control of your assets without intermediary, no compromises. Here we are just basically trying to inform the users that, okay, this is what you are getting into. This is what can happen. Just basically letting them know what it is. Privacy first, security always, end-to-end encryption ensures your wallet stay yours. Own more, do more, connect. So once they click create wallet, this is what they see next. This is for information. This is what they need to see. If we assume that they know what seed phrase is, we will not include this, right? We'll just put seed phrase and we'll jump straight. But while going through this, considering your users, you're like, okay, what if they don't know about this? That's where this come in play. Now, this is to inform the users, what is a seed phrase? There is the text here, your one and only backup. A seed phrase is a set of words that unlock your wallet. It's like your master key. This is further broken down into 3 steps. So these are the instances. If you look at it critically, you will see that the tree process is broken down into something which I'll mention closely now. This is informing the user what it is about. This is informing the users why it must be stored securely, right? Why? Then this is informing the users what happens. So it's more like there are 3 things for you to consider when you are trying to inform your users about something. What it is for, why, and the consequence. If they just know what, and they know the why, and they don't know the consequence, it has not still fully communicated the information to them. So these 3 steps, the what, the why, and what's the third one? The resultant effect. Okay, I can't really point something to it now, but yeah, the resultant effect, right? So that's that for that. So let's go back to our presentation. So that's for the UX of an onboarding process. Transaction anxiety. When they are trying to perform a transaction, I mean, I'm assuming I'm just a new user now, and I'm saying gas fee. I'm not even saying an explanation of what gas fee is. I'll be wondering to myself, what is gas fee? I know what gas is in the normal word sense. I think someone even asked this question to someone, and it was like, the gas fee I know is I'm buying gas into my tank, which was funny, but I mean, the person is just a Web2 user. It doesn't have a single clue to what it is. So passing across the message to your users is very, very crucial. Why they are paying extra, let them know. Lack of safety nets, you know, if they forget their passcode, what will happen? That's what we just saw in the screen I demoed earlier. What will happen if they forget their key? They should know that it's permanent. They should know. But you don't now need to pass it across like, okay, that's gone forever. I mean, there are different ways, which we will still get to. The steep learning curve, the ripple effect. What you should just know from this part is every confusing screen costs Web3 the next million users. UX is not just design, it's adoption strategy. Like we made example of the car instance, right? You are literally just transitioning into something new. So you have to know it before you can do it. If you don't know it, there is no way you can do it. So core principles of UX for Web3 startups. This is what we'll be focusing on. Wow, time is running. So for this part, we'll be looking at clarity and complexity. Clarity over complexity. We'll be looking at onboarding and education. We'll be looking at security and transparency, accessibility, mobile first mindset. So basically all these things are linked together, right? For clarity over complexity, explaining blockchain concepts in plain terms, just like I mentioned earlier on, right? Blockchain is inherently complex. Keys, wallet, token, gas fees, staking, all new things. Users don't know what this is. They don't know what is. So you are to inform me as a new user what all these things are. So good UX should translate complexities into clarity. Instead of, this is a very, very good example. If you see some applications, you will just see approve ERC20 allowance. As a new user, I don't even know what ERC20 is, assuming. I don't know what ERC20 is. I'm like, approve ERC20 allowance. What's this? But you can replace it with allow this app to use up 10 USDC for your purchase. This simplifies everything. If I'm a new user and I'm seeing this as opposed to approve ERC20 allowance, I will obviously use the one that shows this allow this app to use up 10 USDC because I don't need to think further and start racking my brain. What is ERC20? So as much as possible, you abstract all complexities for your users. You use familiar analogies. If it's possible, you can avoid using the word gas fees. But as much as possible, you can just use a tooltip, something to just explain to the users what it is. Plain language is not dumbing down. Yes, a lot of people have this misconception that if I use plain language in my application, it won't feel like a Web3 product, and I want it to feel like a Web3 product. The goal is not to make your product feel like a Web3 product. The goal is to make your users want to use your product. Because if it feels like a Web3 product and they are not using your product, you failed. But when they are using your product, regardless, I mean, I was still going through, which application was that? I was recently just going through a couple. I went through Zora, I'm trying to remember another one. And it felt like, yes, this thing is so easy to use. I was still speaking with a founder some time ago. No, quite recent, about like their own is they are trying to create something like TikTok, right? But for Web3. So I was just trying to let them know that what you should focus on is study what this Web2 app is, study what is working before you eventually think of the Web3 part. If you do that, I bet you will win your customers. But if you are looking at the Web3 side of things before you look at the Web2 side of things, you'll not get what you want. So the goal is just to study what works and apply it into what you are trying to create. So that's it. Plain language is not dumbing down. It's about empowering your users to feel confident. If users cannot explain what they just did, they will not do it again. And that's the truth. It's like I learned how to drive a car now and I want to teach someone. I can obviously teach the person immediately. Why? Because I learned it. I know how to do it. But if I don't know how to do it, I cannot teach you what I know. I cannot teach you what I don't know how to do. So that's just how it works. In onboarding and education, we've stated this countless times. Just make sure your users know exactly what they are going through. I'm trying to rush through this thing so that we can still go through the application. There should be security and transparency, accessibility and inclusivity. Just like we said, mobile first mindset, mindset. This is very, very paramount, very, very paramount. Clarity, onboarding, security, inclusivity, and mobile first. These are not just nice to have. They are survival strategies. They are what will differentiate your product out there. They are what will keep users coming back to your application. So we've gone over bad and good flow. I mean, for onboarding, design system for startups. If there is a designer in your team, you can encourage them, if they are not using a design system, to stick with a design system. Why? Design systems make your product feel coherent. Why you can enjoy going from a screen to another is because it feels like it's the same thing. Imagine if I took out a screen from Binance and I took out a screen from, I don't know, what other application should I use? Maybe even Bybit. I mean, they are similar, but their UX is not entirely the same. So if those two are merged side by side, the user will not be able to go from one screen to the other. Why? Because it's not coherent. So the purpose of design system is just to ensure coherence across your products. Gamification and engagement. If your product is tilting towards that, you can add gamification just to spice up the user experience. Trust queues. For Web3 startups, good onboarding gets user in, design system keeps it consistent, and gamification keeps them engaged. Trust queues keep them safe. So basically, just like I stated, design system is what will make your product look like, yes, this is one product, not like purchase from this to this, right? So common pitfall to avoid in Web3 designs. We've said some things among this, but let's just go right. Overloading users with technical jargons. I mentioned this earlier. If all I'm saying in the screen is just a bunch of big grammars that I don't know about, I won't be able to move. I won't be able to move further. Ignoring mobile accessibility. If my phone is not something I can use your product on, and it's something you want your users to be using in their daily, day-to-day life, it won't work. It won't work. Security warnings hidden in fine print. We've stated this. Let your user know what they are doing. Let them know exactly what they are doing. Copying Web2 flows without adapting to blockchain reality. Yes, I know I mentioned studying Web2 before moving to Web3, but if you just study Web2 and you don't relate it to your products, there's still no way that coherence will be there, right? So you have to study it, then you have to know how to relate it to your product. Web3 is not the same thing as Web2. It's just good practice to adapt what's working and use it in your own product. The fastest way to lose users is to confuse them, to hide critical information, or design for a world they don't live in. Like I said, a lot of founders just build what's in their mind because they imagine, it's like they forget that people will use it, right? Especially founders that just put together, I'm not shading anyone, but especially founders that just put together developers and just start building. I mean, if you do that, we eventually have a ripple effect. If a UI UX designer familiar with the terrain, good and adept to user experiences is not involved, then at least one or two people in the team should know a lot about user experiences, because this is what will literally keep users using your product. So we go to UX life hacks. Know your users. It's not about you. I just mentioned that. Know your users. These applications you are building, it's not for you. It's not for you. You are not even among the users, because when we look at the large scale of things, you are not there. So you design a product that a few people love, not one that a lot of people like. What I mean by design a product that a few people love, it's like I give someone that is not familiar with it, and he can go through it seamlessly. The person's feedback will be, oh wow, this is very nice. But when I mean product that a lot of people like, if a product launch and everybody are just saying fancy UI is up and down, they like it. But it is when they get to use your product that they will know if they truly love it or not, right? So that's just what I mean by there. You ask the right questions. Ask the right questions. Let me demo something real quick. You ask the right questions. So when you are trying to, go through your user journey while ideating, before you eventually, go into the main design, you look at it. Instead of asking your users, your target audience, do you like this idea? This question of do you like this idea, it's like you just want a yes and no answer. Is it that yes or no? But imagine asking this, how do you feel about this idea? You are prompting the user. You want to know more. It's like, I was still discussing with someone today. I said, I like ChatGPT. I like all these AI models. Why? Because they don't end the conversation. If you notice, they're always prompting you. They're always prompting you. They wish I want you to continue. That's just the point, right? Would you use this? This is also a question that ends abruptly. Yes or no? If we did this, would you? Yes or no? Isn't this great? Oh, yeah, it's great. No, it's not great. But you ask on a scale of 1 to 5, you just, you prompt your users, you prompt the people that you see as target audience. Sorry, please, can you help me silence that phone? Sorry about that. So you prompt your users to give you more, because it's when you understand them fully that you will be able to communicate exactly what you need to communicate. So that's just for that. You know the pain points, the behavior to understand this. These are just key things you do when you are trying to understand your users more. Where will they be using your products? Who are the people that will be using your products? Why should they even consider your product in the first place? If you don't consider all these things, your users will consider it for you. How would they react to when they see your product? How would they interact with your product? The pain points. What exactly are you trying to solve? It's one thing to have an idea in your mind. It's one thing to want to bet an idea. It's another thing to know if it's truly solving a pain point. If your product is not solving a pain point, by the time you launch, people will just use it, but you find out that they will not be coming back to it. But it is when there is something that this thing is solving, that is when users will want to use your product, right? So that's where competitive analysis comes in. You look at what works, because obviously there are a lot of products out there. You look at what works, and you look at where they are faulting, and your own job is to build on that. Definition of success. How do you categorize success? How do you measure success? What are your KPIs for measuring success? So this is just a little diagram showing the key components of UX. We've also mentioned a bit of distance while, during the routine. You look at the accessibility, you look at the usability, clarity, trust and transparency, efficiency, feedback, and the like. So let's just go back and wrap up. You iterate, yes. You ask the right questions. You keep the feedback cycle tight. As you are building out your product, you have a closed system. Some people wait till they have reached a particular point before they call for beta testers. But as much as possible, if it's within your power, have maybe 2 to 5 of your supposedly target audience while building your product. Why? These guys, will be the one to literally shape your direction. They are the one that will tell you if what you are building is working or not before even wasting your time. So these things really help, really help on the long run. You iterate on feedback. So you don't just ask for feedback and keep them in the cooler and do what you want. You don't do that. I know it's hard for founders to, you know, get feedbacks, and this feedback is not aligning with what they want to do. But that is where a user experience specialist comes in, right? He or she looks at it, look at how this thing can align from the business perspective, that's from the founder perspective, and from the user experience, from the user perspective, and try to merge it. There must be a meeting point between the user's perspective and the founder's perspective. It must not be 60, 40, 50, I don't know. It must be 50-50, right? It must meet. It must meet. If it does not meet, there's a problem. You use design systems while building your product just to ensure consistency. Like we said, you emphasize learnability, being consistent, and guide people from one step to the other. When they are going to the next screen, what do they expect to see? And you educate them. You prevent errors before they happen. Like the use of tooltip. If I am clicking a particular button, I want to, before you even, how will I put it? Before the user see what is happening, you should have foreseen it for the user. And that's where user journey comes in, right? While doing your product, you could have foreseen it so that it's exactly what you foresee that the user will just go through to reduce friction. Now, design depth, this is just a consequence when design is not considered. Design depth happens when a product accumulates inconsistent, outdated, or unscalable design decisions over time. Basically, just like tech depth, this will slow your developer down. It will slow your users. It will slow your designers. And eventually, you won't get what you want. The product will just be there, except maybe they go do a rebranding or something, or they come fix the problems that are causing it. So what are the causes of design depth? Inconsistent UI pattern, just like we said, rushed features, copy and paste Web2 patterns. We've mentioned all this earlier. I'm just reiterating them. Lack of a design system, skipping user testing. Users, note again, users, they are the base. They are the base. They are the one that will use your product. They are the one. We cannot overemphasize this. Consequences of design depth: user confusion, slow development, reduced trust. If users don't trust your product, they will not use it. It's because they trust your product. That is why they will use it. Higher cost later on. You know, when you're coming back, you are losing money as you're coming back to even fix those problems. So, example of design depth: using different wallet connect button on every page. Imagine entering an application and here you are seeing red button, and the next page you are seeing green button. The next page you are seeing blue button. You'll be confused yourself. What's all these inconsistencies? So that's how much consistency can, you know, be important. Showing gas fee in 3 different formats. Imagine that. Mixing crypto slangs with plain English inconsistently. Just a lot. How do you reduce this? You establish a lightweight design system. It's not necessarily you need to start creating design systems from scratch. Design system is a whole different ballgame. It's complex. But as much as possible from the very first start, all these tiny components, your button, your modals, the designer should make it reusable components. And all these things are what eventually build up to a design system. You audit and you refactor regularly, you test to users. Design depth can be seen as one of the silent killers of Web3 adoption, because even the tech is solid, inconsistent, and confusing design scares user away. People forget the fact that what they are saying is actually design. I mean, they just think of the developer side of things. Codes. No, design is as important as code. Design is as important as the functionality. So there is that for that. And this is just the closing section. If we have questions, we'll jump right into it. quick design checklist. I just created a couple of things that when you are creating your product, you should just watch out for. The onboarding and the wallet connection. Is your wallet login clear and consistent across the application? Recently, I was auditing an application and we noticed this inconsistency. So it's just one thing you should watch out for. Do you explain what a wallet is for first-time users? We also considered that. Gas fees and transactions, if your application will be using this, because they are, different type of applications. Some may not need this. So security and trust cues, clarity in language, avoid jargons as much as possible. Mobile first accessibility, consistency and design system, we just spoke about that. Delight and engagement. How the users feel when they are using your product. Are there small wins for users? As much as possible. Use progress bars, animations, just something to keep the users happy while using your product. So that will be the end for this session. Yes, I think we can jump straight into the Q&A. Or does Matthew have anything to say before we jump straight into it? Hello, Matthew, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So do you have anything to say before we jump into the Q&A session?
No, not much to say apart from, sometimes we get into these sessions with assumptions, but it's good to see real data from Web3. I think Tim had asked a question and made suggestions, so very valuable. But I'd like to open the floor to anyone with any more questions to please ask them. Nonetheless, I'd also like to let the teams know you can now book a 1-hour session with Doc. Just reach out to him in the Telegram group. You can leave his Telegram here as well. Doc, just leave your Telegram where they can reach you. And then just book a session with him. He'll look at go through your UI UX currently, as it currently is. He'll give suggestions. And then you can rework based on those suggestions, then have another iteration and calls to get you to the desired end product. Okay, so welcome with any question.
All right. So the floor is open. Does anyone have any question for me? Okay.
Yeah. So I think more value will be on the one-on-ones.
Yeah.
I think once you see each project's UI UX as currently is from the eyes of the founder, you'll be better positioned to assist. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Great. I think then we can wind it up there. Doc, you can share the slides in the UI UX group.
Okay.
And then you can also share your calendar for them to just reach you or your contact there as well.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you very much, Doc of Designs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Have a good